Alrighty, guys. Market's just kind of winding down this last 25 minutes, and obviously, with such little time left in the day, we're basically past the point of being able to look at long setups. And I have a pretty hard, fast rule about not shorting on days like today, which we'll discuss as part of the webinar because I think it's a super important topic to discuss. But overall, guys, I wish I had a lot more to talk about this afternoon. We just really didn't ever get back to that 15-minute chart to even consider, picking up some dip buys. Market was extremely strong today, and it looks like shorts are just absolutely leaving in a body bag here today, closing near highs. They might get lucky if they get one pullback. We literally haven't had a sell signal all day. There hasn't been a point here on this chart where longs had to say, all right, I need to take profits here and sell because of a technical reversal. The only thing that would maybe provoke some selling is the resistance that we have sort of between that 65 and 70 area. But there's still enough shorts covering and enough buyers here that, as you can see, it's been actually hanging on pretty good. As I'm speaking here, they might be able to take out, if they take out this level right here at 67.50, that's technically a 5-minute chart reversal. So maybe they retest towards that 15 EMA and maybe some profit taking comes into the late part of the day here. But certainly not much we can do at this late in the day. So I thought, let's just go ahead and start covering some topics. So I'm just going to clear the board here from the drawings, and I'm just going to go over a few things that we discussed on Friday and in yesterday's article that were interesting coming into today. So first of all, last week we had basically an entire week of consolidation. We had kind of the Tuesday breakout, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all sideways days where we weren't really able to make new highs or break below the known support level at 45.07. What it was really going to come down to this week was I was thinking either we were going to consolidate a little bit longer, which would allow that daily chart EMA to catch up a little bit, and then once it caught up enough, I suspected that new buyers would come in and shorts would get pushed out. That day actually happened to be today. The big thing coming into today, and for those of you that read the article from last night, for me it was like, okay, if we come in today and we're under 45.20 area, then we're under the 4-hour chart trend, and we're looking at bear flags and possible short signals because the 4-hour chart trend would be breaking lower, and then really when that 4-hour chart trend breaks, it could lead to a break of Friday's lows, which would trigger more selling and then get us back towards maybe that low 4,500 area, or best result would be back to the daily EMA. But the opposite of that was if 45.20 holds overnight, now it brings into play the multi-day flag, which we talk about this domino effect from time to time. What I mean by that is a smaller time frame signal creates action that then results in bigger time frame signals happening. For example, for this morning, the 4-hour chart flag through 45.26, and mind you, this was, I believe that was actually not even during regular trading hours. That was super, super early, like overnight, 3 a.m. That was technically a 4-hour chart flag back through the EMA. And that's what started the short covering here. But then what that led to was we knew that 45.34 was also resistance. This is where shorts sellers have been kind of stepping in, is between 45.35 to basically 45.41. So when those shorts are covered on the 4-hour chart flag, and then we held up on the pullback, and then we're able to continue that trend, this is where basically everyone that's been accumulating short side positions over the last week, and I see several places on this chart where swing shorts might have been trying. So for example, this 4-hour chart bear flag here, we got another one right here. Overnighters might have tried it right around there. So yeah, there's a few different spots last week where I think that we were accumulating shorts to help fuel this next move up. And as you guys know, as most of you know from our conversations on a daily basis, is that the biggest nightmare for shorts is consolidation. So the more that things trade sideways, the more that these bigger time frame trends catch up. And if you guys remember, I mean, we're looking at up here a 4-hour chart, but if I put a daily chart down below, you'll remember that we were looking at this chart on Tuesday, and of course, at the time on Tuesday when it looked like this, it looks extremely, extremely extended from the daily chart trend, right? So we know that the real buyers, the big buyers, are kind of stepping in around this daily EMA. That's where it's holding when we're trending. and then we flag, and then we have another leg up, and then, like I always say, one of two things can happen. Potentially, we can kind of put in a short-term top. Sometimes we will see a daily chart candle come in to reset the chart a little bit, and then we retest towards that daily EMA, which then, we'll potentially find new buyers on that dip. And then if the new buyers really step up into that level, typical patterns, we see a reclaim for a day or two, and then a flag for a continuation. That's the big picture on the daily chart. But the reason why the biggest nightmare for shorts is the consolidation period, which was over basically Tuesday to Friday yesterday, is because they're accumulating short side potentially, and they're not getting a pullback. So all that does is, through the time that they're waiting for a pullback and not getting it, it allows this moving average and allows the extension to become less prevalent, less extended, and then they're stuck having to cover out at a loss. And I think that it was clear as day that shorts needed to get out of this thing at a couple different points today. I mean, definitely like the 35 to 42 area was really where it was over. We broke out of the box. We've been in this box for, like I said, about a week. Another day or two of consolidation would have got the daily chart quite a bit closer, maybe been a little bit more convincing for longs today, but no question about it, man. After all these days of consolidation, a break of that out of this box was going to get shorts covering. And that brings me to my next point, which is there's certain days where you'll hear me say things like, this is a long only day for me. So a couple situations that would get me saying like, hey, this is only going to be a long side day would be, for example, if we've consolidated for 5 days straight, we haven't had a pullback, and we're breaking out of a range. I mean, this is a time where there's going to be a lot of people trying to cover out shorts. There's going to be new longs coming in through 45, 41. If you look at today's action and think about where there was a good area to short today, it's really hard to find one. I mean, just a really strong trend hold all day. And like I said, there's a choke hold on the shorts here. I didn't see any reversal signals on the 15-minute chart. There was barely any on the 5-minute chart. We had maybe like 2 dips that tested below the 5 EMA, and they came right back up. And technically speaking, this was probably the first and only really good-looking long signal, or decent-looking long signal, was right there on that pullback that held the 15 EMA on the first dip, and then flagging through 45, 41. From there into these bigger extensions, I was actually looking for a dip. I was looking for a buy in the low 40s, and it was so strong here that they couldn't even get a short-term reversal happening on the 5-minute chart. That would have been the place for it to happen if it was going to happen. I believe some market news, though, came in right there, and that actually shot it higher. And then from there, it kind of just turns into a runaway and a short squeeze. So anything up here is kind of just chasing the long side. And again, to me, regardless of almost anything that I see on a day like today, you will be way, way better off taking B or C setups on the long side, buying dips, doing anything but trying to fight the trend short. At least for this first day, or at least for the first like 4 or 5 hours of the day. There might be like an exception here or there where I see a perfect multiple time frame signal with a big enough extension that it might be worth it for me to think about trying it. Something like that. It didn't happen today at all, but something like that could be, for example, if we had major extension on the hourly chart, which we do right now, as you can see from the current action at 45.69 all the way down to 45.50. Let's say that we had similarly large extension on the 15 EMA. So if we weren't, it's pretty caught up there, but let's say that this got a little bit more parabolic and there was an extension like this, maybe 10, 15 points. The next hourly candle, which would be the 4 to 5 p.m. candle, but imagine it was intraday, breaking the low of this previous hourly chart candle and breaking the lows of these previous 15-minute chart candles. That would have been probably the first real sell signal of the day. And even with that, you're not guaranteed to get a pullback all the way to a 15-minute chart or an hourly chart. So the takeaway here and the point is just the longer the consolidation period, if we break out of the box, so to speak, so we were in the box all last week, breakouts of those areas, I'd rather see you being more aggressive on the long side, just anything but shorting, really. unless there's a perfectly surgical approach to it where there's a very clear path to success. And even then, I think it's going to be pretty difficult. So that is those are really the big takeaways from today. And you know, all day, guys, when we're in uptrends like big ranges, or excuse me, big breakouts and uptrending like this, or downtrending depending on the context today. Uptrending, obviously, I pay a lot of attention to the 15-minute chart EMA. These are always going to be areas of interest for me when we see momentum in the market, and of course the hourly chart. And I think the biggest level of interest for me today, the closest here. That I was very, very interested in was I figured if we got this pullback in here through these lows, this would be the perfect place to grab a buy and still have lots of time for an afternoon trade. I usually like to buy a little bit on the dip and then add on a flag once it's confirmed. But like I said, you know, I was waiting for that pullback right here. I had an order out just a few points lower to start long, and then I was looking for this, you know, flag to form to confirm it, and that, you know, it just ended up actually just doing a kind of a rare looking 15-minute chart flag, but still valid. Basically, every 15-minute chart flag that you see today, even the extended ones, this one here being the final one, actually played out. So one of those days where shorts are just not going to get it. Too much consolidation, too many people trying to scramble out of the short side, and just way too strong. So the big levels that I'll be paying attention to for tomorrow, I don't know if we can get a retest of this level, but you know, today's breakout level is going to be a big one. Today's breakout level was around 45, 40, I say 45, 45 level to 45, 50 would be close enough if we can get a test of that. As you can see, coming into the close today, we're just way out of whack with that hourly chart. So we might see this come in a little bit overnight, or it'll just consolidate. But for the big play for tomorrow, I think is, you know, we have FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. That's on the economic calendar. That's not as impactful, obviously, as FOMC rate decision day. I have trades on FOMC minutes days, and you know, it's not going to have a huge impact on our morning trading session, at least. For me, guys, I'm going to be paying attention to all the usual stuff. So the first thing being the 4-hour chart, because we haven't tested that 4-hour chart trend for a while, but the last two times we tested it early today, it held really well. So that EMA should catch up a little bit overnight. Maybe towards that 60 area. Maybe we test it overnight, maybe we don't. But if we do test it at any point tomorrow, we want to pay close attention to see if the buyers keep stepping in there. Because even if this is a short-term top, it's likely that we still get bounces and long plays off those moving averages, even if they're going lower. So like something like that could happen, where there's still a bounce play off that moving average, but if it puts a lower high, then breaks the low as a support over here, then it would indicate lower. But these are still plays that we can take in the meantime, and I'd still be rather trading long than short right now, as long as we're in this trend. Like I said, anything towards 44, 45, 50 is of interest. This was a prior big resistance level. It was a prior breakout level. I suspect the first time we test that, it is going to at least become short-term support. Again, even if it ends up with a lower high, there's still probably a play there. If it ends up with a lower high, there'll be a clear sell signal, and obviously as an intraday trader you take profits into these bounces anyways, so there'd be no harm in taking a trade like that, especially where you can get sell signals well before the stop if we get partial profits into a move like that. The move I wouldn't love to see tomorrow, I wouldn't really like to see this go higher. I'm hoping that this starts to stall overnight and we see some corrections back towards the hourly and 4-hour charts. But definitely tomorrow I'll be watching 45.50, 45.65. That's where I think the 4-hour chart is going to catch up to. And I don't think the lower levels are going to be in play, though you never know. But ultimately, guys, this has gone kind of parabolic on us. Like I mentioned earlier, as far as a daily chart perspective goes, these are big levels for potentially for sellers to be coming in. We discussed how, if you look at the hourly chart, 4-hour chart, for example, over the last week, it was pretty clear that the sellers were really coming in over the 45.35 level and not really able to get it over the 45.41 spot. So the way we had it mocked up was like this. That was sort of our resistance zone, and then it was just the opposite for the long side. The lows were around 4,500, but the bodies of the candles that were not able to close under was around 45.07. So you can see how this played out with the range staying really tight over almost the entire week to eventually, finding enough places where shorts kind of getting trapped there to actually blow them out into the top of the range, through the top of the range, and then just kind of continue along for the majority of the day. So that's a big level. If we retest anything towards this pocket that was resistance, we want to see if that becomes new support. It likely does in the short term at least. So that's definitely a level to watch out for. And as far as levels further up go, there's really not a whole lot actually, to be honest with you guys. 65 to 70 is a spot. If you go back here, I mean, there's 60. 4600 and 4620 really. There's not much going on up there. So that is that. We got some big levels overhead there if they can keep it up. This weekly chart candle, believe it or not, we're working on our 4th week of potential upside. But we're getting into some big spots, like I said. You can see back here on the weekly chart, we did have some trouble in the past closing up. That was back in September. We were having trouble really closing anything up over this 60-ish area. You can see where it was acting as resistance on the weekly chart. Yeah, I guess it's still possible at this point that this weekly chart candle, doesn't close over it either. If it ends up putting a wick in like that, this does feel like I'm not going to lie, it feels like a little bit of a blow-off-ish type of move, but I don't even want you guys really thinking too much about the short side until we have a real reason to go after it. For example, 4-hour chart reversals, bigger time frame trend reversals that would indicate that we're going lower. Sellers are finally taking a stab at this thing late in the day today. I think that is just a situation where finally the longs are like, look, I haven't had a reason to sell all day, or there's 10 minutes left in the day. FOMC minutes tomorrow, let's just take the money and run, and cannot blame them. This is just testing the trend line too that we had all day of the upside. So yeah, very impressive. Very impressive action today. You definitely had to be. Look, the thing is, guys, you have to be a little bit more aggressive on the long side on days like today. There was a couple of points today where I was looking for dip buys, areas towards that 50 that I did not get, which then required me to sort of adjust on the fly and see if I could maybe scalp a little bit alongside here and there. But it was an uncomfortable. Basically anything up over this 60 area, I was kind of not interested. I didn't take any longs in the afternoon over 60. It was too close to the big resistance, getting too extended. And it was only a matter of time before eventually those sellers stepped in. So those are the plans I got tentatively for tomorrow, guys. We'll see how we'll see how we shape up here after the overnight session. You can see we're starting to pull back now, which is good. We need that hourly chart to get retested, and I'm looking forward to seeing what tomorrow brings, guys. I'm sure we'll have a couple of interesting signals out there. But like I said, I'm still taking longs as long as we're in this trend. Definitely paying attention to 4-hour dips, 45, 40 to 50 area, and hourly chart spots for tomorrow. Alrighty, guys, that is it. I'll have this webinar up for you all on the website as soon as possible. We'll check back in tomorrow morning before the open and reaffirm these plans up once we see where the market's gapped. Thanks for your patience today, guys, and have a great night. Cheers.